Right, so today's video we are going to be talking about One Piece volumes 1 through 3. I have them in this handy little omnibus kind of collection here. This is how I'm going to be reading One Piece going forward. I'm going to be doing the omnibus collections, where it's basically three volumes in one. I'm going to be reading them in blocks of 3. So how I'm going to do it for right now is basically after I finish a big read, or after I finish a traditional standard book, I'm going to then chuck in one of these as a little palate cleanser in between. So that's essentially what this has been. I finished Eisenhorn. I got my comics read for the month, for the first chunk of comics read for this month. And then I jumped straight into this. And yeah, I finished this yesterday. I finished volume 3 yesterday. I had read this previously, but it was almost a decade ago. I have no memory of what's inside of here, outside of outside of knowing the gist and the basics of what's in this, which is I knew that it was pirates. I knew that it was a rubber man. I knew that it was Monkey D. Luffy's quest to find the One Piece. That's what going into this, that was my memory of this. And obviously, the people that he fights. The entirety of volume 3 left my brain. 100%. Everything that happens in volume 3 just left my brain. I did not remember a single thing. I think some kind of Berenstein Bears kind of situation happened in my head, where I could have sworn that the whole thing from the live action show, spoiler alert for the live action show, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, if for some reason you clicked on this video of me talking about One Piece without watching the Netflix show, spoiler alert for that, there is a section in that show where Buggy traps Monkey D. Luffy in a box full of water, and tries to suffocate him. I remembered that happening in this, but it doesn't. But that just straight up does not happen. What does happen in this, and going as like a step by step from beginning to end, what this book is, we're introduced to Monkey D. Luffy, who is a child on an island that's being visited by pirates, but not your typical swashbuckling fair pirates. This is more of kind of like this is more of a just member of the town kind of pirate. He's more of like the local celebrity than like ne'er-do-well. So Luffy is kind of taken a shining to who is later revealed to be called Redhead Shanks, which I don't know, but if I had a kid, Luffy's parents are nowhere to be seen, by the way. Yeah, Luffy's parents are just nowhere to be seen. I don't know if we're going to get any kind of resolution to where are Luffy's parents, what happened to Luffy's parents, why does Luffy have no parents, why does no one make mention of Luffy's parents. But Luffy takes a shining to Shanks and is like, I want to join his crew. and he's being told by everyone, no, you're too young, you're not ready, basically. And I think Luffy's like, what, 4, 5 at this point? He's definitely a very young child at this point. And, you know, the pirates bring in this kind of like fruit that they found on their travels. And it's the devil fruit. And Luffy, for a laugh, eats the fruit. And he's then told, or he then starts getting weird powers. But he also cannot swim. He now will never be able to swim because of eating the devil fruit. But he does now have rubber powers. He's essentially Mr. Fantastic. And that's where we kind of, more hijinks ensue. There's a guy that comes to this town, and he starts making trouble. Luffy ends up getting mouthy to him and gets taken to the middle of the ocean and is about to be chucked overboard. Shanks saves him, but we then see this like sea serpent thing, which is also shown, which is also not really questioned at all. We're not really told that that's a weird thing. We're just kind of expected to just go with it. And there's a lot of just going with it for the first few, especially with that first issue, you know, after this, Luffy ends up getting back to town. Then years go by. Luffy is eventually of age to go out on his own. And he takes basically this rowboat, and he doesn't have any idea where he's going. He's got no navigation. He's got basically nothing but a rowboat and a dream. And he's off to go find his crew. We're then introduced to Roanoa Zoro, who is, you know, this kind of like, he's kind of this like pirate bounty hunter. And he's been captured by this town's navy. So he's the first kind of member of Luffy's crew. We're then introduced to Nami, who is a thief that kind of resents and hates pirates because they took over her town and kind of are a reason for her to kind of get into thievery in the first place. She then becomes, after a fight with Buggy the Clown, she then joins Luffy's crew. We're then introduced to Usopp, who is kind of a liar and a coward, but he's going around this town telling kind of being the boy who cried wolf, but he's the boy who cried pirate. And where we're left with this is Usopp is this guy who goes to kind of the village princess, or the village, or the kind of the town, what's the kind of word for it? Aristocrat, who is kind of ailing and is like dying, and he kind of goes there and tells her stories, and it's kind of implied that he has a crush on her. It's more heavily implied in the show that he does, but here it's more like he just goes there to kind of cheer her up because she's having a rough go of it. So that's how, and we're kind of given this kind of glimpse to everyone. a kind of switch that makes Luffy be like, I want them on my crew. And for Zolo, we keep wanting to call Zoro. I know that's the obvious kind of connection. For Zoro, it's kind of just showing how good of a fighter he is, to the point where he actually uses 3 swords instead of 2. He uses, he dual wields swords while also holding one in his mouth. We're not kind of shown anything really cool with that in this, but we've got loads more to come. We've got loads more to come. But the whole thing with Zolo is he's kind of got this dream to be the world's best sword fighter. And that kind of mirrors Luffy's dream of becoming king of the pirates and finding the One Piece. With Nami, it's kind of this realization that she is stealing. She's a thief as a means to an end. And it's this realization that she's stealing for her kind of town. So this kind of realization that she's not just a petty criminal, she actually is trying to do something good. And with Usopp, it's kind of this discovery that, oh, you're just trying to be a nice guy. The reason why you're telling these lies is just because you're just trying to make people smile. You're just trying to make people happy. And that's kind of mirrored with Luffy's kind of boundless optimism. Someone who's trying to be happy all the time himself, and he's kind of seeing someone who's constantly trying to make other people happy, or kind of trying to be a sense of morale for everyone else. And he kind of like appreciates that. But then we're shown that this aristocrat Lady Kaya's butler is more nefarious than we're led to believe. And by the end of Volume 3, Luffy has been hypnotized to fall off a cliff and is like kind of seen as, essentially, for all intents and purposes, everyone believes that he's deceased, he's dead. Obviously he's not, he's the main character. But Usopp has gone into the town and he's like, the pirates are here, and no one believes him. Because, it's the boy who cried wolf. Yeah. And that's where we leave One Piece Volume 3. And I don't know if I'm 100% invested in this yet. I know this is the first 3 volumes of something that goes on for hundreds and hundreds of volumes. It's a massive undertaking that I'm going through. And I didn't expect to be won over by Volume 3. And, I mean, there's enough in this where I'm like, I don't want to just chuck it away and be done with it. However, Volume 1 is very, like, just, here's a load of information, here's a load of just stuff. You just got to kind of go with it. Luffy is an idiot. Luffy doesn't really understand the world or, like, understand people or, Luffy is basically, he still has the mind of a child. He doesn't really kind of, he still is in the same mindset and the same mind frame as as the kid he was when he first knew who Shanks was. So he's kind of taken the the moral lessons of Shanks as trying to be like a noble warrior of the sea instead of the swashbuckling ne'er-do-well pirate that, you know, a lot of other people may seem to believe pirates to be, or that most pirates are. But yeah, I don't think I care about Luffy, even by the end of this. I think his character is just kind of annoying to me. The way that he's written is just kind of annoying to me. And, you know, I've got more... Weirdly enough, I think the character that has kind of struck me the most is probably Usopp. And I don't think it's until Volume 3, like when we get done with Buggy and all of that stuff. It's not until after that where I'm like, I'm kind of interested in this now. And from what I've heard, the stuff with the butler does go on for a bit long. And I'll make my own decisions when we get to that and how I feel when reading that. But the other thing with this that I find a bit weird is it's not kind of volume a story. Volume 1 is a contained like story. Volume 2 is a contained story. Volume 3 is a contained story. Or it's not like Volume 1 is introduction, Volume 2 is, you know, a thing, and Volume 3 is, you know, the fight against Buggy or whatever. Volume 2 is like establishing Buggy as like, he's going to be the villain for a little while. And then Volume 3 is like, Buggy fight. This is more along the lines of like, Volume 1 happens into Volume 2, into Volume 3, and getting it collected like this does mean that it kind of flows better. I wouldn't know how, like, if you were reading this as it was coming out and getting the kind of... It's not even really like there's cliffhangers. It's more along the lines of... It's more along the lines of the best way that I can describe it is, did anyone watch Titans Season 1 into Season 2? Season 1 is kind of setting up Trigon, and then Episode 1 of Season 2 is Trigon fight. And then the rest of Season 2, from Episode 2 onwards, is about something completely different. And it feels like that first episode of Season 2 should have been the last episode of Season 1. Season 1 should have been an episode longer and should have just been that episode as well. That's what this feels like. The volumes are still split into chapters, but it feels like the chapters are, you know, we go from, for Volume 3, because Volume 1 and Volume 2 are a lot more straightforward in terms of Volume 1 is introducing Luffy, introducing his quest, and him being introduced to Roronoa Zoro and Roronoa Zolo, and getting more of that kind of establishing him as a character, and where we end off, they're kind of riding off into the sunset. Volume 2 is more a case of, like, introducing Nami, introducing what she's all about, and kind of introducing Buggy the Clown as well, and what he's all about, and kind of, like, fighting his crew more so than anything. And then Volume 3 starts with the Buggy fight. And the Buggy fight is fun. and all. And it is interesting seeing how this crew that Luffy's put together, does deal with someone with powers. And the use of Luffy's powers are interesting. It does this thing that I hate, where it kind of names all of the moves. It's interesting in this, and I think it'd be interesting in the anime. I know in the live action, it just feels weird. It feels weird, but it's just a thing. It's a One Piece thing with him going like gum gum balloon or gum gum pistol. I know that's just a thing. So yeah, so far I'm enjoying my time with One Piece. I don't know if I'm on the train yet, but where we end off at the end of volume 3, I'm interested. I'm interested to see where that goes, and I like where we're going with Usopp of all characters, because he was the character from the live action that I was just like, I do not like this guy. I do not like this guy at all. But here, for some reason, I like Usopp here. So yeah, that is it. That is my kind of takes on One Piece volumes 1 through 3. Is this a thing? Is this just a thing that happens with manga? Do they kind of not really care about about keeping things contained to individual volumes? Is it more of a, like, the best way I can describe it is that the volume itself, like the end of a volume can be the start of an arc and can lead into, and can be the end of an arc and the start of an arc. And that kind of threw me. That kind of was a bit weird for me. We do have like an odd chapter in this where this guy is kind of stuck in a chest and doesn't want to leave an island. I can understand why that wasn't put in the live action. It's a weird tangent, and that's kind of why I started reading the manga, why I thought that the manga was a good thing to get into, was I wanted those weird tangents. I wanted not only the epic fights and the things that will be adapted, but I wanted those weird tangents and the weird, like, offshoot stuff that probably won't make it into the live action show. But yeah, One Piece, it's good. Yeah, I'm excited to see where I go, and I'm excited to see where these characters go, as of right now. But yeah, I've been told that, like, Arlong Park is where the kind of quality goes up a bit, or where, like, the tone goes from, like, silly buddy pirate thing to, yeah, this is kind of like maybe one of the best pieces of fiction. So I'm excited to get to that. And I think that's like, because I know that's the end of the first season of live action stuff. So I assume that's kind of the end of this kind of like, East Blue arc. But yeah, I'm excited to see where I go. Let me know in the comments below, if you've read One Piece. Let me know what your thoughts and feelings on early One Piece is. And did you kind of have the same kind of growing pains with One Piece as I'm experiencing at the moment, or did you love it from go? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. The next video that I do will probably be talking about Discovery, or I'll be doing another Disney Speedstorm thing, dependent on how the news goes of that. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Peace!